Now, if you look at the last two columns, that's the ones that we are going to use, the average cost and the marginal cost. The average cost, if you look at the figures, you'll see 70, then it go down to 40, and then it go up again. So in the end, it looked like that, which is the smiley face, like Irma also said. For the Afrikaans people, it's easy. Dis die gemiddelde koste. Die glimlach, die G, is die glimlach, die gemiddelde koste, so that they don't mix up the two. For the English people, I just say, just think about something with somebody with the name who starts with a G that makes you smile. Then you will also remember the G is with an A, sorry, the average cost. That tells you that this is the one that looks like the smiley face. The marginal cost, again, the last column, there we can see it drop a little bit and then it go up and up and up and up. Therefore, that look like the tick. And in Afrikaans again, that's the merk, the mark. So the marginal cost is the mark. So we're going to use those two curves all the way. And they stay the same for all 7 until Rudy's graph this afternoon. All the way use those two graphs and it stays exactly the same. The smiley face, which is your average cost, and the marginal cost, Average cost and marginal cost. We are going to use the board now. I just want to bring you up there. Oh, and another thing, you need to make sure that they understand we are working, first of all now, with the perfect market. Because many of the questions say, you must decide, is this perfect? Which market structure are we talking about? So when they see certain things now, they must just keep in mind, this is the perfect market we are talking. All the graphs we are going to do will be short term. The long term we will talk through, but the short term is the ones that we illustrate now. Then we are going to look at two examples, first the industry and then the individual graph. And it's necessary again because they need to see where that individual graph comes from. That's why we must first look at the industry. Now when we talk about the industry, now we can just touch back, like Irma also did yesterday, and say, remember when we are talking about an industry in the perfect market, what is the perfect market's characteristics again? What can you tell me about the many sellers, the many buyers, homogeneous products? Okay, so you bring the children back and say, so remember, that's the market we are working with. The perfect market where they are busy with the industry. No single business can make and influence a price. Therefore, it's a price given. They are the price takers. So, sorry, I just put it in Afrikaans as well. Now, in the industry, we look at the two graphs, the demand and the supply graph, and there where they two intersect, there's the price. The price that they as individual business take from, sorry, I don't think that you don't understand it. I want to illustrate how you must bring that to the learners because we assume they know certain things and they don't necessarily know this. So it's important to make sure that they understand exactly before we start with the graphs, where we come from. Then in the individual business, that 50 Rand, which was taken because they are price takers, it was taken from the market or from the industry. That's the demand curve that we are talking about. Demand curve, the MR, the two M's indicate the market, the demand and the supply curves. The MC indicates the supply curve, and the MR indicates the demand curve. So the M and the M, we come back to that a lot later on. Another thing before we continue, we need to make sure that the learners understand that the cost, those two cost curves that we're looking at, come from the comes from the cost of the factors of production. So the factors of production, now you just bring them back again. I think that was grade 8 or 9 or 10, where they start working on what's the remuneration for the factors of production. That consists out of your salaries and wages, interest, rent, and profit. So what's important now, because we are going to do the two cost curves now, and we get a normal cost, a normal profit curve graph, and an economic profit. Normal profit, economic profit. How will you tell the learners what's the difference between these two? Because in the normal profit, Normal profit means the profit is already included in your cost. So when they break clean, where there's the maximization point, profit is already included. If learners don't understand that part, they can't see why there's a difference between the two profit curves, because in one, the cost and the income is equal, and in the other one, there's a profit. Why do we talk about profit then? So this part is important to make sure they understand those. Okay, now, where we start now. I'm going to do this here as well, because we can illustrate this better, I think. Irma also told us yesterday, we need to make sure that learners put the basic stuff on the graphs, because that's marks, easy marks. They don't need to study for that. That's basic things that come from the maths already. So they must put the names on, otherwise it's just lines, it doesn't mean anything. The price and the quantity, and it always starts from the zero, going that way, because sometimes they put this the other way around, and then the graph don't make sense. Now, when we talk about the normal profit, we start off with this line, which is a given in the perfect market. We are busy with the perfect market. It's given. This represents your marginal revenue as well as your average revenue. Because sometimes learners also don't realize what the average and the marginal is and what's the difference between the two. So just to make sure, bring them back to average cost. What's average cost? If the 4 of you have the average of your test marks are this, and you divide it by the 4, you get the average mark. What is marginal cost? Marginal is you've got to put another one extra, an additional one extra, and that's the cost of that additional one, so that they know the difference between these two as well. So we've got the given. And if up to there stays the same exactly in all your graphs, there's nothing different with the 3 with the perfect market that we are going to do now. The following is about this cost curve that we put in the cost curve. And, oh, it must touch there. Irma had a better idea when you rather start this side and you do it like this. Then you make sure it touches there. And that this one, the marginal cost always must be in the middle at the lowest point, actually. At the lowest point of the smile, there the intersection will be marginal cost and average cost. And where these two intersect, that will determine the quantity. Many times the children say, okay, where these two intersect? What intersect? In all the cases, the only thing we need to look for is the M and the M. And I tell the children, learners, look, you know that group, M and M? It's not a group, it's a one person. M and M, he makes a lot of noise and things. M and M. So we are going to use M and M all the time.
I put that graph in my exam.
Yeah.
And I asked for the profit maximization point, and they wrote for me M and M.
Okay. so there you've got it, the M and M. And the M and M brings what? The M and M brings the maximization point. It's another M. The maximization point, the profit maximization point, the maximization point. So the M and M bring the maximization point. If the learners know that, they already can get marks no matter which graph they need to understand. This is the normal profit one, the normal profit one. Now, sorry, I must bring you back to this one again. There we name them. And then we've got the economic profit, which I'm going to do just now. And then it's the economic loss. Now look again, the 3 graphs look exactly the same, except for the smile that's moving, right? So if we look at the loss, it's not touching the line, your cost, your revenue lines. If it cuts the line, then it's economic profit, and if we just touch it, then it's a normal profit. So just look again how the lines move. Can you see? That's the only difference. The moment when the learners see that, it's not difficult to draw the line, the graph. So if we look at the second one, and now you are going to start to work. I'm just going to do it once more. if we need to draw the economic profit part, first of all, again, the price and the quantity. We've got this line, which is our revenue line, which is our demand curve. It represents our demand curve, average revenue, as well as your marginal revenue. Now the cost curve, the average cost curve, that will tell you which one of the three graphs we are doing. In this case, when the smile, which is your average cost, when the smile cuts the line, then it's the normal profit, the economic profit. The economic profit part. Why? Because at its lowest point, this one will go, the marginal cost, and now you look for M&M, because you want the maximization point. So where M and M intersect there, at that point, you get your quantity. So where M and M intersect, you get your quantity. On this line, now you look for the cost curve. The cost, which is your average cost, there it intersects, and that means that is what it will cost you to produce this quantity of products. So this is the cost. This one is your income, your revenue. So that part is a profit part which you make upon your normal profit. Therefore, we call this your economic profit. Now, in your groups 2-2. One of you are going to draw the graph, and the other one is going to be the teacher in the group and say where it's right or wrong. And while we are doing that, I might say switch, then the other person is going on with the explanation and with the drawing, and the other one is the teacher in the case. Okay. Yeah. You must explain to the other one. Okay. 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 Okay, class. The main thing is, if you leave this and just continue there, the children can't do it. If you can do it, the children still can't do it. They must practice it. And it's best to do it together so that they can help one another. What the one remember, the other ones forget, and the other way around. So let's just quickly go again. When we look at the economic profit, I'm just going to do it here again on the computer. First, the graphs, the two axes, important, and they must put the names on the two axes. Then they need to have the line, which is coming from the taken price from the industry, and they must put the name on. The 50 is not important. They don't need to put the 50. It's just for us to bring it. Then the two graphs, doesn't matter, the other one is usually first. Then they must have the two cost curves, which is always the same. It's always like this, depending where the cost curve is, the average cost curve is. In this case, we look for M and M, and where the two M's intersect, that determines our quantity. The M and M brings the quantity. And where this line intersect the cost line, there determines the cost. And the average cost is the cost for the business, and the average revenue, so it's the A and the A, is about the cost. The average cost is what it costs the business. The average revenue is what the business gets. So it's the income of that business. Those are the two on this side. So the M and the M brings the quantity on the bottom axis, while the A and the A we read on the left. If we look at the economic loss, again, I'm going to let you draw this one as well, because we need to do that, and the learners need to do that, otherwise they won't know exactly what. It's nice to see the picture and you understand it, but if you must do it yourself. Okay. First, before you do that, sorry, just before you go, let's quickly go through, and then I'm going to give you a chance again. First, we do the axis, the two axes, the P and the Q for price and quantity. We've got the one line, which represents the revenue, the average revenue and marginal revenue. Then we've got one of the lines, the marginal cost and the average cost, where the M and the M intersect. There we've got the quantity curve, the quantity. And what do we call that point again where the M and the M intersect? The profit maximization point. Profit maximization point. And then you're just on that line, so sometimes you need to lengthen the line where it intersects with the average cost. There we determine the cost. What's the cost for the business? And in this case, the cost is more than the income. So now it's the economic loss curve. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Now, since we are knowing now, loss, so loss is given in okay, so then the loss is going to be when?
On top, but first you draw this line here, the point where you take it down, so you get your quantity.
Okay.
And then you extend it simple there.
It's a normal profit. It was an important thing yesterday.
The best is to start the entitlement before we start
Okay, thank you. We are going to do the last one. Yes, Lars, I can see that can you see that we as educators struggle with this? Because it's easy to see the picture and know what it's about. To draw the picture is difficult. You don't have the self-confidence to do that. You need to practice. So are there any one of you that want to do this on the board for us? And explain while you're going, please, ma'am. You must do that in the class to give them. You can use any one of these.
So which one do we do?
You decide which one. You tell them what you are doing.
Colleagues, or class. So we'll start with the axis, being 0 here, and then the price, the quantity, and then the price this side. And then the demand curve, which represents average revenue and marginal revenue as well. Yes. And as we said earlier on, that this individual producer takes the price from the market. For argument's sake, if it's P1, and we can say P1 is equals to 20 rands per kg, just to make the example easier. Now we want to see how we represent graphically a firm that is experiencing an economic loss. We are going to start with the marginal cost curve. That's the MC curve. And then we're going to identify the point where they maximize the profits. And it's the M&M. So that is the point where this firm maximizes the profits. So I usually say to my learners, when we are going to draw the average cost curve, for me, it's simpler when I say to them, the most important area in the average cost curve is the turning point or the lowest part of the average cost curve. So where it is. So I would say to them, if for instance the average cost curve is drawn in that way, I think it's best if we start with the quantity. So the position now of the lowest part or the turning point of the average cost curve is above the revenue curve, because the revenue, this curve represents the income that the firm receives. So if we want to identify how much the average cost is, we are going to start from the point of maximizing profits and stop where we touch the average cost curve. That will be the cost. So from that point, we just extend. It's not straight enough.
That's fine.
Really So if the revenue is 20 Rand at that point, obviously we have to have a bigger amount because it's above this point. So it could be about 25 Rands, for argument's sake.
Good.
Now we are able to see that the cost, because anything that is labeled on the cost curve represents the cost in the firm. So if the cost is 25 Rands and the revenue is 20 Rands, then the costs are more than the revenue. As we explained to them earlier on, that this firm therefore is experiencing an economic loss because the costs are bigger or the revenue is less than the cost in the firm. And that's how I would explain it.
Thank you. Yes. Do you also sometimes get the feeling that the children actually knows better than you? Yes. Thank you. Okay. Now I want somebody to come and do the normal profit for me. The normal profit. Anyone? Normal profit. Can I pinpoint somebody? Who's? It's fine. Anyone? Yes. Okay. Okay, you can both come. One will do the normal profit and the other one the economic profit. Okay, so we will wait for you. Thanks. Again, this is not to waste the time. It's not to waste the time or to fill up the time. It's to make sure that they really understand. When I've walked through, I could immediately see, yes, this one is self-confident, but there and there is one that's not. So we need to do it over and over so that the ones that's not sure about it, make sure they understand. Thank you, sir.
First we go with the indexes and put on that. Then we have a line here which represents the marginal revenue and the
Average revenue.
revenue. Okay. And then we draw the line for the marginal revenue.
Cost. That's fine.
With the marginal cost. And then the decimal.
Ja. Maak dus Irma gemaakt het, ja. There if you want. Yes.
The average cost.
Okay, listen with it then.
Then we look at the two M's. Is it? And we get the quantity, and with the average cost beats the average revenue. There we got the profit maximization portion.
That's it. Thank you very much. And in this case, the income, the revenue, and the cost are the same. So now we only make a normal profit. Thank you. Okay, last. Thank you, Cornell. There we've got it. It's another 2 marks. No, it can be 1 mark or 2 marks, the headings. Thank you. Last one, ma'am. You can come for the last one. Let's take a green one. The economic profit. Economic profit part. Okay, let's give the teacher a chance here. Yes. There we've got the heading.
vertical line. Just the box. Quantity. And then we have horizontal line that is MR to MR. Okay, and then marginal cost MC. And we have average cost MC.
Yes.
Then we have M and N point, that is profit maximization point. Then we have output here, which we call, maybe we say 50. And then, let me see, we have P here, is 10. Then we look at the cost. That's all. Then we have economic profit here. Then we can do calculations as well.
Okay, she moves into another way. We can do the. You can do it quickly.
Okay.
Listen quickly. She goes the next step. She say we can do the calculation. What calculations can we ask? Determine the profit. Yeah. So, yes.
Then we can say total revenue minus total cost equal to total profit. Then total revenue is P times Q, as we know. And then total cost is C times Q. Then we get total profit. Then our P is 10.
10. Yeah.
P is 10. And our Q is 50. And then our cost is 5 rand times our quantity is 50. Then we can multiply here. 10 times 50 is 500. 5 times 50 is. Then our total profit is 500 minus 250. It is 250. That is economic profit.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we've got it. Thank you. Can you see what is happening? The moment when you use the learners, they bring in their own creativity, which help learners that you don't get to. So thank you for that. You really make this easy. The main thing that you can just show to make sure is that from there up to there, the guy will make profit. Any quantity that he produces there, he will make a profit because his cost will be more than his income will be more than his cost. But at this point, he will make the maximum profit. If you look at that size, you can see this is more than this, for example. So illustrate it to the learners and they understand and they will never forget. If they understand up to there, in classes where the learners are really very weak, I tell them, just know that, it's fine. And then you will get your marks. But what we need to put in extra is the average variable cost. Nee. That's not always on the graph, but if it is on the graph, it's just to get the closing down point. So when this part is in the graph, you just need to know that where this intersect your quantity line, there you know is your closing down point. So if the person produces less than that, get less than that for this, he must close down his business, closing down point. So again, don't put this from the start. It depends on your group, but sometimes this gets them mixed up. In the end, like what Irma did yesterday, if you do it like that, the learners must already understand what this cost is all about. And I see all of us do this one first, and this one must actually intersect this one on its lowest point. So sometimes it's easier to do the other one first, depending on them. But when you want to show the movement, then the other one stays exactly the same and this one is moving. And while we're on this, I do the graphs on posters. You haven't seen it, but he was standing there inside the burglar bars this morning because I can't show it. It was put away in jail for the night. The main thing is if you have this on your walls, the learner that's finished with his work just look there and say, oh yeah, and he gets something. So they keep on learning the moment when it's on your walls. So don't miss the importance of this on your walls. You don't need to do it yourself. Get a learner to do it. Or let them in the class make some posters and choose the best ones and put them on the wall, or the most correct ones.